My family took over my vacation plans for my sister, so I created a secret escape. I need some perspective on a family situation that has been building for decades. It is complicated, but here it goes. I grew up in what looked like a typical suburban Massachusetts household, but the family dynamic was far from balanced. I am 35 years old, and my older sister Kate, who is 42, has always been the golden child. Since childhood, our home felt like a museum dedicated to her achievements. Every wall displayed her awards, and nearly every family conversation circled back to her life. One memory stands out even now. My parents were too busy preparing for Kate's college interviews to get me a proper cake for my 10th birthday. Instead, they offered her leftover graduation cake, with her name still on it, as my birthday cake. As I grew, the same pattern repeated. When I made the honor roll in middle school, my parents hardly noticed because Kate had just joined the debate team. In high school, I won a local painting contest, but they missed the ceremony because Kate had a college tour. I quickly learned that sharing my achievements only earned a brief, "That's nice, dear," before the conversation shifted back to Kate. So I celebrated privately, alone in my room. The favoritism extended to our belongings. Kate always received the latest gadgets, fashionable clothes, and whatever she needed for her many extracurriculars. I got hand-me-downs. When I asked to learn music, I was told to use Kate's old violin, which was too big for me. My mother's response was, "We already spent a lot on Kate's piano lessons this year." In high school, it continued. Kate had private tutors for her standardized tests, while I studied with borrowed library books. My parents even took out a loan to buy her a car for college. When I needed transportation, they told me to take the bus. Family finances, holiday plans, and daily priorities always revolved around Kate. When college came, the difference was even sharper. With full parental support, Kate went to a prestigious university. When it was my turn, they said they could only cover half the tuition at a public school. Their explanation? "We are still paying off Kate's loans. You'll need to handle the rest." I ended up working 2 part-time jobs and falling asleep over textbooks just to manage. Meanwhile, Kate started her career in a position that our parents arranged through their connections. 7 years ago, Kate got married, and everything intensified. The entire family spent a year focused on her wedding. She had a designer gown, a grand venue, and a guest list of more than 300. My parents took out another loan, despite worrying about payments. As her maid of honor, I was tasked with organizing showers, a bachelorette party, and solving any problems. When I said it was too much while working full-time, my mother reminded me, "Don't be selfish, Elizabeth. This is your sister's special time." Then came the twins. When Kate announced she was expecting, my parents were thrilled. Even though they were still paying wedding debts, they helped with the down payment for a house near them. I watched them spend retirement money they once claimed was unavailable. When I asked for help with college, their reasoning? "This is for our grandchildren." From then on, I became the default babysitter. What began as "Can you watch the boys for a few hours?" became weekly obligations, then evenings, then weekends. Whenever I protested, Kate cried about being overwhelmed, and my parents scolded me for not being supportive. The twins are now 7, full of energy, and constantly leave my apartment in chaos. Meanwhile, I have worked long hours to build a career in marketing. Recently, I was offered a promotion that required more hours and travel. Instead of congratulations, my mother asked, "But what about the twins? Your sister needs you here." Kate added, "You can't take that job, Elizabeth. Who will help me with the boys?" My father's response at dinner was, "Family should come first." My mother often tells me, "Your sister has 2 children. You don't know what tired really means." When I explained how draining it had become, Kate accused me of jealousy. She told me I was bitter because I was still single, as though my marital status defined my worth. After one exhausting weekend, when the twins destroyed my laptop and stained my couch, I decided enough was enough. I booked a beach vacation. It was a modest resort in Florida, perfect for rest, but the moment I mentioned it at dinner, my mother's eyes lit up. "That's perfect. We should all go together. The twins would love the beach." Before I could object, Kate began planning activities, saying, "You can take the boys swimming while Jack and I get some alone time." My parents even offered to upgrade the reservation, disregarding that this was supposed to be my trip. That night, I made a choice. I secretly booked a completely different resort on a quiet island. I prepared quietly, saving money, packing discreetly, and turning off location sharing. At the airport, they will board their flight to Florida, while I go my own way. Yes, I know there will be backlash. Yes, I know they will be upset. But for the first time, I want to put myself first. For 35 years, I have been the dependable sister, the accommodating daughter, and the always available aunt. I sacrificed my weekends, my social life, even career opportunities, to meet my family's endless expectations. This is not just about a vacation. This is about ending a lifetime of being taken advantage of. I plan to use this trip as the start of setting real boundaries with my family, and maybe even taking a longer break from them altogether. I finally chose myself over my family SEP's demands. I am tired of always being the one who sacrifices, the constant support system, and the reliable backup option for my family. Reddit, I need to know, am I exaggerating for wanting something different? Is it wrong to put myself first? Or should I simply keep following their expectations and accept my role? First update. Thank you for all your advice. Since my last post, a lot has happened, and I want to share how things turned out. Although everything went as planned, the airport was far more emotional than I expected. I deliberately checked in at a different counter, away from where my family would be. I arrived early and watched them through the glass, Jack confirming the tickets, my parents full of excitement, and Kate juggling both the twins and the luggage. While they headed to their gate, I quietly went through security for my own flight. The moment they realized I wasn't with them, my phone started buzzing. At first the texts were confused. "Where are you?" "We're at gate B12. Then they became anxious. "Elizabeth, are you okay? Has something happened?" Finally they turned angry. "How could you do this? The kids are crying." Before boarding, I turned off my phone. For the first time in years, I felt both guilt and freedom at the same time. Freedom won. Their crowded tourist destination was nothing like the quiet island where my resort was located. The moment I stepped onto the beach, years of tension faded. No twins to care for, no family issues to manage, no schedules to follow, just the ocean, peace, and independence. The first couple of days were harder than I expected. At lunch, I thought, the twins would be eating now. At night, Kate would usually need help with bedtime. It was difficult to break decades of conditioning, but by the third day, something shifted. I tried things I had always wanted to do. Surfing lessons, a yoga class on the beach, even a spontaneous dinner with someone I met at the resort. It wasn't serious, but it reminded me I could live a life outside my family. When I finally turned my phone back on, after 5 days, that was the real test. I found dozens of voicemails, over 300 texts, and nearly 150 missed calls. My mother even called my workplace to report a family emergency. Thankfully, I had already informed my supervisor about my vacation. Listening to the messages, I heard the full range of tactics. My mother's worry turning into anger, then guilt trips. "Elizabeth, how could you leave us like this? The twins are heartbroken. Did we raise you this way?" Kate's messages were harsher. "You've ruined everything. The boys keep asking for Aunt Lizzie. I can't handle meetings without you." So Jack had to cut his short. But one message was different. It was from my father, "Elizabeth, please just let us know you're safe. I don't understand, but I need to know you're okay." For once, he didn't immediately defend Kate or pressure me. I sent one reply to our family group chat. I'm safe. I'm enjoying my vacation, and I'll reach out when I'm ready. Please respect my space. Then I muted the conversation and went back to enjoying my time. The next 5 days were transformative. I read 3 novels, connected with other travelers, and journaled for the first time in years. Instead of babysitting, cooking, or rushing home for bedtime routines, I watched sunsets and processed years of suppressed feelings. One evening, I had dinner at a small seaside cafe. The older waitress noticed I was alone and asked if I was happy that way. After I briefly explained my situation, she said something that stayed with me. Family is important, but never at the cost of your own well-being. Sometimes putting yourself first is the bravest choice. When I returned home, I didn't go straight to my apartment. I stayed in a hotel for 2 nights to prepare for the confrontation I knew was coming. During that time, I updated my work emergency contacts, changed my locks, and wrote down clear boundaries. Unfortunately, my family found out I was back after I accidentally liked a coworker's post online. Within hours, my mother and Kate showed up at my apartment, buzzing the intercom repeatedly. From my hotel room across the street, I watched them but stayed out of reach. The next day, I agreed to meet them at a neutral coffee shop. I knew it would be difficult, but I was determined. Second update. At the coffee shop, things unfolded much as I had expected. I arrived early, sitting in a corner where I could see both the entrance and the exit. My hands were shaking so much, I could barely hold my cup. Soon, my parents, Kate, and surprisingly Jack, arrived without the twins, thankfully. Before they could begin, I spoke first. I am setting boundaries. They are not open to negotiation. The next 2 hours were a lesson in emotional manipulation. Kate cried, insisting my absence had traumatized the twins. My mother tried guilt. After everything we've done for you, Jack attempted to compromise, suggesting I babysit only every other weekend. My father mostly stayed quiet, looking uneasy. The turning point came when Kate accused me of being selfish, saying, "Family means sacrifice." Calmly, I replied, "Yes, family means sacrifice, but it has to go both ways. When has any of you ever sacrificed for me?" The silence that followed was heavier than anything I had ever experienced. For the first time, I explained everything. Growing up in Kate's shadow, the unequal financial support, and the constant expectation that my time mattered less. I even showed them my calendar from the past year, nearly every weekend and holiday dedicated to their needs. When my mother interrupted, saying, "That's Seps what aunts do," I finally said what I had never dared before. "No, that's Seps what babysitters do. And Kate, if you need this much help, maybe it's Seps' time to hire one." Kate stormed out, followed by my mother. Jack stayed behind and admitted they had relied too heavily on me. After a pause, my father said quietly, "We never meant to make you feel this way." It wasn't an apology, but it was something. After they left, I put my plan into action. I moved to a new apartment in another part of the city. It's smaller, but safer, with a doorman aware of my situation. Only my workplace and a few close friends have my new contact information. The hardest part has not been moving or making plans. It's rebuilding my life from scratch. After years of being defined by my family's needs, I realized I had few hobbies and only a small circle of friends. But for the first time, I finally feel like I am starting over on my own terms. I started small. I signed up for pottery classes, joined a local reading club, and finally accepted dinner invitations from coworkers that I had always declined. That first weekend of true freedom felt strange. I did things I never thought possible, staying up late, wandering through a farmer's market, and spending hours inside a bookstore. Kate didn't send urgent texts, My mother didn't call with guilt-ridden messages. There were no last-minute requests for babysitting. Their reaction to my move was harsh, but expected. When my mother tried to reach me through my company's switchboard, she was told that personal calls were not allowed during business hours. On one occasion, Kate even showed up at my office, but security was alerted beforehand. Later, she sent me a tearful letter, accusing me of tearing the family apart. The unexpected twist came from Jack. He emailed me apologizing for his role in how things had turned out. At first, Kate objected to him taking the twins to weekend events, but she eventually accepted it. It was a small but meaningful change. My parents, however, struggled more. My dad sometimes sends awkward texts, usually clumsy attempts to start a conversation. My mom swings between angry outbursts and cold silence. She left a voicemail recently, saying, "When this rebellion ends, we'll welcome you back." But this isn't a phase, and she doesn't understand. With no constant family interruptions, my work has improved. I'm more focused and productive, and my supervisor noticed, assigning me to lead a major new project. For the first time in years, I'm also dating again, taking it slowly. The biggest change, though, is inside me. That constant background anxiety I lived with is gone. I exercise regularly, eat better, and sleep more soundly. I finally began therapy, and my therapist says I'm recovering from what she calls chronic family stress syndrome. The twins sent me a handmade gift last weekend, with notes saying how much they miss me. It was bittersweet, but I stayed firm. I wrote back telling them I love them, but that I need this time for myself. Even if Kate never shares it with them, I needed to say it. An old acquaintance recently said to me, "You look years younger." She was right. Despite the angry texts, guilt trips, and emotional manipulation, I feel lighter. I'm learning that true family love should not feel like a prison. It should include personal space, mutual care, and respect, not just one-sided sacrifice. Next week marks 1 month in my new apartment. For the first time ever, I'm planning a small housewarming. Just a few friends from pottery, book club, and work. No drama, no expectations, no family. Only people who value me as I am. Update 3. 3 months later, my life feels completely different. The confrontation I had both feared and expected happened last week. My father came to my workplace. Unlike Kate's emotional tactics or my mother's chaotic behavior, he approached me calmly, even solemnly, and asked to have lunch. We met at a quiet cafe nearby. For the first time, he looked at me as his daughter, not just Kate's sister or the family's fallback. He said, almost in surprise, "You look healthy, happier." His words revealed that he had never noticed my unhappiness before. He told me the family had a proposal. They said to allow me every other weekend off and even pay me for time spent with the twins. To them, my independence was still a bargaining tool, not a right. Looking him straight in the eye, I replied, "Dad, I sit not negotiating my freedom. I sit in living it." For the first time, I spoke openly about how their focus on Kate had hurt me, not just emotionally, but in all aspects of my life. I reminded him of overlooked birthdays, forgotten achievements, and dreams dismissed. He sat in silence, not defending their choices. Finally, he admitted, "We thought we were doing what was best. We never saw how much we hurt you." It wasn't a full apology, but it was the first time I felt acknowledged. When he asked about my new life, he actually listened. I told him about pottery, my work progress, and the new friends I had made. I even showed him pictures of a vase I made. He said, "You've built a good life for yourself without us." His words carried both recognition and sadness. As we ended lunch, he hugged me, sincerely, for the first time in years. "I hope one day we can be part of your life again, but on different terms." That meeting stirred new family conflict. My mother launched fresh emotional attacks, telling relatives I need an intervention. Kate posted passive-aggressive remarks about selfish sisters and broken families. But unlike before, Their words no longer control me. From where I stand now, I see their actions as an attempt to hold power over someone who has finally stepped free. My apartment truly feels like home. Pottery pieces, photos of friends who respect boundaries, and reminders of my independence decorate the space. At work, I've begun mentoring younger colleagues, breaking the cycle of one-sided support that once drained me. Most importantly, my relationship with time has changed. Weekends are mine. I've started learning Spanish, joined a hiking group, and begun dating someone who respects my boundaries. For the first time, I am building a life true to myself, not to family demands. The twins recently sent me a card, clearly supervised, filled with guilt-ridden phrases about missing me. Before, that would have crushed me. Instead, I wrote back kindly but firmly, telling them my love hasn't changed, but adults sometimes need to care for themselves too. My therapist calls this post-traumatic growth not just moving on, but creating something stronger in its place. She helped me see that fixing family dysfunction isn't my responsibility. Just yesterday, Jack reached out. He told me my stance has forced changes in their household, not blaming me but explaining. They finally hired part-time help, and he has become more involved as a parent. He believes this shift benefits everyone, though Kate is still adjusting. I palm writing this final update from my home office, preparing for a business trip I never could have taken before. On the wall behind me hangs a quote: "Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is set yourself free." To everyone who supported me, thank you. You gave me the courage to choose my own path. And to anyone in a similar situation wondering if wanting independence is selfish, know this: it is not. Self-care is not cruelty. Boundaries are not betrayal. I don't know what the future holds with my family. Maybe one day we'll build a new kind of relationship, one based on respect instead of duty. For now, I'm focused on my career, my passions, my friendships, and most importantly, myself. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. For the first time in my life, I'm looking forward to what comes next. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more real-life stories like this.